From above, it looks like a swampy puddle in the middle of nowhere, just a small algae-covered pond tucked inside a wildlife preserve in Florida. Mosquitoes buzz, the water's murky, and if anything, it looks like a breeding ground for gators. Not world-class divers, but that's the trick. Beneath the scummy surface of this nondescript pool lies one of the deepest, most complex underwater cave systems in North America. A portal into darkness, known simply as Eagle's Nest. Divers have another name for it, the Mount Everest of cave diving. And like Everest, it's beautiful, it's famous, it's deadly. This isn't some open water resort dive. It's a vertical shaft more than 6 feet wide that drops down into an enormous underground chamber the size of an airplane hangar. A place so dark, so massive, it's been described as otherworldly. Floating there feels like drifting through deep space. And once you've entered that black expanse, you're only just beginning. What lies beyond is a tangled web of winding tunnels, silt-lined passageways, and bone-tight restrictions. This is a cave that eats lights, disorients minds, and claims lives. More than a dozen divers have died here. Not careless amateurs, not thrill-chasing daredevils. Certified cave divers, technical experts, men and women who knew the rules, understood the risks, and still ended up lost in the dark. The danger is written in bold right at the mouth of the cave, a grim reaper painted on a sign warning divers not to go further. And below him, a chilling message. Stop. Prevent your death. There is nothing in this cave worth dying for. Yet every year they keep coming. Because Eagle's Nest isn't just a dive, it's a test, a proving ground, a siren call for those obsessed with depth, darkness, and the razor-thin edge between mastery and mortality. And it all starts with the descent. At just 20 feet below the surface, the pond's floor gives way to a vertical shaft, narrow, smooth, and almost hypnotic. It sucks divers downward into the heart of the cave. A short drop and suddenly everything opens up. The ballroom. A massive chamber of black water stretching in all directions. There's no ceiling here, no floor, just suspended particles and the weak beam of a flashlight slicing through the dark. Divers report a kind of eerie peace. It's silent, weightless, beautiful. But beauty down here comes with baggage. The moment a diver enters the ballroom, the rules change. Time stretches, orientation fades. There's no up, no down, just water and darkness pressing from all sides. Flashlights carve only narrow cones through the murk, and the rest is a void that seems to swallow everything, even thought. Breathing becomes the only sound, loud inside the mask, rhythmic, constant, a metronome counting down. It's easy to get lulled into false confidence. The space feels open, forgiving, but that illusion is what makes the ballroom dangerous. Divers who linger here too long begin to forget how deep they are, how far from safety they've already drifted. At the bottom of the ballroom lies a sloped debris mound, a graveyard of rock, rust, and memory. This is where many stash extra tanks, a waypoint for what's to come. From here, 3 tunnels branch off, each one inviting, each one different. The upstream tunnel is narrow and disorienting, twisting like a serpent into the unknown. The downstream tunnels, tighter still with dead ends, abrupt drops, and silt that waits for the wrong kick to blind. It's here that lines must be laid with precision. A diver's life depends on a cord of nylon and their ability to find it in pitch black. One wrong turn, one missed marker, and the way out might as well be on another planet. This part of the dive is where gear gets caught, where air consumption spikes, where minds already fogged by nitrogen begin to betray. Divers talk about losing track of time, of hearing things, of light flickering without cause. The cave starts to feel alive, and not in a comforting way. Those who survive the nest often speak of an overwhelming sense of being watched, not by people, by the cave itself, as if the earth is holding its breath, waiting to decide whether to let the intruder go or keep them forever. But it's also deceptive, because at the bottom of the ballroom, there are choices. 3 tunnel mouths split off into the unknown, 2 downstream, 1 upstream. From here, things get narrow, twisted, and unforgiving. And this is where the cave has claimed lives. December 25th, 2013, Christmas Day, Darren Spivey, 35, and his son Dylan Sanchez, just 15, were excited. New tanks, a father-son dive, and a shared love for the water. Darren was certified. Dylan wasn't. But that didn't stop them from descending together, and they made it down past 230 feet. At that depth, breathing regular air isn't just inefficient, it's dangerous. The pressure warps the mind. Nitrogen builds up in the bloodstream. It causes confusion, poor decisions, and sometimes euphoria. Divers call it rapture of the deep. They never came back. Their dive computers showed they'd stayed too long. Ran out of air. Dylan was found near a set of spare tanks they'd stashed. Tanks they couldn't reach in time. Darren's body was at the bottom of the ballroom. Dylan had tried to share his father's regulator when their tanks ran dry. It wasn't enough. The rescue team that found them said it looked like a story frozen in time. The father and son, suspended in silence, locked in a desperate effort that had come too late. Their dive logs told the rest. Steady descent, prolonged bottom time, erratic ascent, classic signs of nitrogen narcosis. But it wasn't just depth that killed them. It was decision-making clouded by invisible forces. Down there, at over 230 feet, compressed air becomes a trap. Minds blur. Simple math becomes impossible. What should be a short pause turns into long minutes, lost in the dark. And that's exactly what happened. They overstayed. Burned through their primary tanks. By the time panic set in, it was already too late. Dylan, young and likely terrified, had done what anyone would, reached for his father, but two people on one failing air supply only quickened the end. Their spare tanks were staged properly, but reaching them meant swimming against pressure, against confusion, against time. Dylan got close. He was just feet away from the backup air when he finally lost consciousness. Divers later said his hand was outstretched toward the tank valve. A few seconds more, and maybe it would have been different. But the cave doesn't deal in maybes, it deals in absolutes. And for Darren and Dylan, that Christmas morning turned into one of Eagle's Nest's most haunting stories. Friends described Darren as a cautious diver, someone who took pride in gear prep, in protocols. But even cautious divers can be blindsided by the trap of overconfidence. Maybe he thought it was just a quick dip. Maybe the new tanks gave a false sense of security. Or maybe, like so many before him, he underestimated just how fast things unravel inside the nest. What made the tragedy hit even harder was the timing. Christmas Day, while others opened gifts, laughed around trees, and shared meals, Darren and Dylan were spending their final moments in total silence, buried beneath 230 feet of black water. And when the news broke, the diving community didn't just mourn, they debated. Some said it was recklessness. Others said it was a reminder that even love and bonding moments shouldn't override safety. One thing was certain. Eagle's Nest didn't care who they were. Father, son, novice, veteran. The cave treats them all the same. They'd made a fatal miscalculation. And the cave showed no mercy. That same story, different names, plays out again and again. Two experienced divers, John and Craig, dove deep into Eagle's Nest using an underwater scooter. It helped them cover more ground. But with speed came danger. At some point, the scooter disturbed the silt. Visibility dropped to zero. Panic set in. Instead of following the guideline toward the exit, they got turned around. John dropped his scooter and began blindly feeling his way through the murk, except he was headed the wrong way. His body was found 1,000 feet inside one of the cave's farthest tunnels. Craig was found 2 days later, tangled in a line out of gas. They had the skills, they had the experience. What they didn't have was forgiveness from the cave. And in 2016, another tragedy. Patrick Peacock and Chris Rittenmeyer weren't just experienced, they were meticulous. They prepped the site a day early, stashed tanks, planned decompression stops, used rebreathers for longer dive time. They had a third diver, Justin, who stayed in the shallower depths to monitor them. At 3 p.m., Justin dove to the agreed depth. No sign of Patrick or Chris. He checked again at 3:30, then 4, then 5. Still nothing. At 6 p.m., he called for help. The rescue divers didn't enter until nearly midnight. They found the bodies the next day just past a section known as the pit. Dive computers showed that Patrick and Chris had tried to enter a tight restriction, backed out, then tried again. Something went wrong. One removed his rebreather. They began buddy breathing from a single tank. They didn't make it to their bailout bottles. It's believed one of them got stuck and the other died trying to free him. Even when everything is planned, when every precaution is taken, the smallest failure at Eagle's Nest can be fatal. And the list doesn't stop there. There was Brent in 1990, a new cave diver, certified instructor with a known history of blackouts. He entered the cave and never resurfaced, found unconscious at 190 feet. Terry in 1981, mid-dive with her husband, she lost her regulator and went still. Her husband tried to save her. When he surfaced, he found a photographer named Jim Bentz, who happened to be a rescue diver. Jim grabbed a tank and dove in. He didn't come back either. The cave took them both. In 2017, a diver named Charles went limp at 100 feet. No panic, no obvious error, just sudden unconsciousness. He died on the way up. Autopsy said it was a heart attack. In 2018, Davin, an experienced diver and spear fisherman, died at only 70 feet. Also a heart attack. Sometimes it's not the cave. Sometimes it's just the body giving out under stress. That same year, a young free diver named Saeed tried to beat his personal record. One final breath-hold dive down to the ballroom. He never returned. His body was recovered at 150 feet. That's the thing about Eagle's Nest. The cave isn't out to get anyone. It doesn't move. It doesn't choose. But it's indifferent to error, no matter how small. Even veterans with hundreds of dives under their belts have been overwhelmed here. And still they come. Because diving Eagle's Nest earns bragging rights. It's a rite of passage in the cave diving world. Some call it obsession. Others call it honor. The statistics are chilling. Between 1981 and 2018, at least 13 divers lost their lives here. That's 1 in every 11 U.S. cave diving deaths just from this single site. But the cave diving community sees Eagle's Nest differently. It's not just a hole in the ground, it's a monument, a test of skill, a sacred place for those drawn to the edge of the unknown. And that's the paradox, because Eagle's Nest is breathtaking. The ballroom is like floating in space. The silence, the pressure, the feeling of drifting inside the earth, it changes people. It calls them back. And sometimes it doesn't let them go, so maybe that Grim Reaper sign at the entrance isn't just a warning. Maybe it's a mirror, a reflection of what can happen when passion turns into obsession, when confidence becomes overconfidence, when a cave stops being just a cave and starts becoming something else. And so the divers keep coming, and the cave keeps waiting. Still, silent, beautiful, and deadly. Thanks for watching. If stories like this resonate, consider liking the video and subscribing for more explorations into the world's most dangerous places. Leave a comment. What do you think? Should Eagle's Nest remain open, or has it claimed too many? For deeper dives into storytelling like this, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you never miss an upload.